Now, anyone who knows me, or knows of me, knows, and this is a verifiable fact, that I am one of the greatest writers of my generation, let's be honest.
I mean, why stop there? Of all time, really.
Of all time, I'm up there. I won't... Top 5, at least. I'm up there. Absolutely the crown queen of games media and video game industry writing. Absolutely untouched. So, it is not usually the realm of this particular writer to ask for writing advice. I don't need it. I'm a living repository of writing advice.
Your work is the advice. People ask for advice, it's like, well, see what Steph wrote. That'll get you on the right track of how to do it.
Exactly. Just observe me, regard me, do everything I say, and you'll be okay. And Jonathan, so far, has never taken that advice.
Not once.
We live in hope. Conrad, we live in hope.
We do. We do.
Yeah. But here's the bit of writing advice that I, the greatest writer of our generation, needs to ask, because there is someone on this podcast with a lot of writing experience, and in my very rare times of need, I have consulted Laura for advice, and the biggest advice I have as a deadline for Vampire Survivors the Grimoire looms is, Laura.
Yeah?
How do you write a book?
Here is my best bit of advice. As that deadline is approaching, you're going to have a couple of days at the end of that, right at the end of that deadline. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to sit down, go into a bit of a fugue state, whatever chemicals get you where you need to get into the right frame of mind.
Yep, still got the popper burns under my nose. Yep,
right?
Yep.
And you're just going to start writing with no regard for quality, just to have words down on a page. And you'll tell yourself, yeah, I'll come back and give this a second pass, to check, and to find the good in what I did. And ideally, you'll find that time. You might suddenly realise it's the moment that you have to send the manuscript off, and you hit send and you pray for the best. And what I will say in that case is, don't feel bad that you didn't do as much, checking that wasn't the ramblings of someone with cocaine madness as you would have liked. What you do is you go, well, someone's being paid to be an editor, it's their job to tidy this up, and you sort of just wash your hands of it and let them fix it.
So what you're saying is I am on track.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. That was fucking awesome. In fairness to myself, I actually have done a lot.
Yeah.
And I've done... This is something that's changed in me as I've gotten older. Is I didn't even proofread my shit when I was younger. I would throw, when I was writing reviews for games websites, and even the earlier reviews for the Jimquisition, ADHD, completely unmedicated at the time, couldn't sit through and read what I just wrote.
Oh,
couldn't think of anything more torturous.
1,000%. That is so much of my early career is I don't have the patience to reread this. Yeah. It'll be fine.
Pepperidge Farm remembers, and so do I, Steph.
Yes. Conrad has edited some of my work in the past. As I've gotten older, and the medication probably helps. I take Amfexa now for my ADHD, which is very good at getting me in the zone. Sometimes, I wouldn't say too good, but sometimes I don't feel it very much. And sometimes I'm obsessed, and without the proper focus, this, Laura.
Yeah. Oops, the meds gave me the focus, but they pointed me at the wrong thing. I can't tell the focus to be over there now.
That's exactly it. And instead of writing my book, what I've done is I've sat there on Discord with Lilith for 5 hours, yelling at her about how great my book is.
Look, how do you think it's the case that I accidentally made a multiple-page fake newspaper for a Star Trek LARP I've been going to recently, of a community newspaper when I should have been working? Sometimes it happens. The ADHD hits a target.
It's actually my advice to people with ADHD is the brain wants what it wants, and fighting it makes it want it more. go where the ADHD takes you and trust your brain to come back to what you're doing. And so far, that's done okay.
Yeah. I would rather be productive on the wrong task than do nothing with the day.
Yeah, exactly. Let the brain wander. I know under capitalism, not always possible, but if you're certainly trying to be creative, the brain will not want to be creative under constraints until the deadline looms, at which point the brain is like, Stephanie, what the fuck have you been doing, you daft bitch? You don't need to play through Metal Gear Delta again.
It's the only constraint it cares about is time. Yeah, that's it.
That is true. But yeah, as I've gotten older, my reviews, I used to write a review in an hour, throw it up, as Conrad knows. These days, it will take at least 2 days. And I thought that was age slowing me down, but then I read some of my old guff, which was so much flimsier and briefer. To the point where sometimes these days, one of my weaknesses is I get too verbose. But I draft a lot now, especially with this book. I've written a lot, but I've spent even more time going over it and tweaking and refining. And
to be fair, to give the honest advice on
Yes.
stuff on the scale of a book, I am a big believer in the biggest thing that stops most people completing a project like a book is overthinking the details and stressing about the specifics before they have put it all down on paper and there is a thing that could technically be a completed work. And I understand the desire to get it to feel like you write the last word of the book and you look at it and go, that's the finished book, I did it on the first try. I think, at least for me, a much better way of doing it is don't look back until I am through. And there's a little bit that will inevitably happen, but generally, don't be thinking so much behind you as you are about the finish line. And once you hit that ending and you go, the beats are here, the structure is here, I've put something that would work in all the places they need to be, that's the time to go back through and go, how much time do I have left before that deadline? And how perfectionist can I afford to be in tweaking and fiddling so that I give every part of it an equal amount of tweaking and fiddling? Because what I don't want to do is start from the start, do the really good polish phase, and go, oh, it's deadline day, and I'm a third of the way through doing that really big polish, and there is a weird quality discrepancy between the first third and the other 2/3. It's how much time can I afford to give the whole thing? Start from there.
Yeah, that's solid advice. I'm a very stream of consciousness writer. A lot of anything I've done, certainly, for the Date Everything, one of the biggest aspect of Barry Styles, the character, what I've done, that I've had literal thank you messages about is Barry's neurodivergence and autism and ADHD. That wasn't in the character. I came up with that several months into writing the character, and then that hit me. And a lot of the things I've written for the Grimoire, they were started with no idea what the ending was going to be. And it's just how I've always done it. And as I think it can make for some good natural sounding stories because your brain just thinks, well, what would happen next, and follows the track. And I've stumbled on some ideas I think are really good, but to put some pudding to the proof of what you have said, that makes no sense.
I got you. I followed you.
Yeah, to basically back up what you've said, I think right now I've got experience with both of those things, like your advice and what you should not do, and that's felt in what I'm doing right now, because I think I can say this about the book. I am doing a lot of groundwork with fleshing out a lot of the game world, a lot of the characters and the locations and stuff like that, and I weirdly found it easier to write about the characters that aren't super important to me. They're not in my favorites, or they're not someone with some real personal meaning like Giovanna. they were easy. Some of them were easy. I've still, of what I'm writing, my favourite characters, the most meaningful things, I have barely put pen to paper because I want to get it right, and I'm doing what your advice is suggesting one should not do so much, which is completely overthinking it.
It's easier said than done advice, I get that, because
Laurie, you're a writer. I fully assume that you do not take your advice.
Oh, no, you've got to know the rules so you know when and how to break them, but,
Exactly, yeah.
The thing with characters that aren't your darlings yet when you start writing them is that you don't have any preconceived notions about where they should be going.
Yeah.
And it gives you not only more space to play with, but also it sort of... You have the freedom to feel like you can go, I will discover this character as I write them and see where they take me. Whereas if you have an idea for a character, you feel like you have to write a story that sticks to the tracks of what you have in mind. Whereas, you can just let the character reveal what they are to you as you stream of consciousness if you're going in without an idea.
Yeah. And with a lot of... One of the great things, and I have said this on, Blue Sky and stuff like that, the sheer creative freedom that Poncle gives me is frankly dangerous in the wrong hands, i.e. my hands. Actually, no, I when it comes to this stuff, I really have taken to it like a duck to water. But with someone far more established as a fiction writer than me, because I've got 3 games under my belt, and no book experience. It's a lot to give even someone very established, because there's so much of Vampire Survivors' world is a blank slate,
Yeah.
And on the one hand, that is magnificent, because I can look at a character and think, there's nothing here. They could be anyone and anything. And that is a playground I get to play in until Fiona, the project manager I've been working with, says, maybe don't have that many references to sex and cigarettes. Fiona's wonderful, by the way, just as an aside. The person at Poncle I've been working closest with on this, just a wonderful person to work with. But that there is that blank slate there, but it also means that I could look at some of my, Mortaccio, the skeleton. I love Mortaccio. Again, not a lot established. Could do anything. But with that, now it's because I have a bit of investment, because he's my most played character, should I say it's my best played character. I look at Mortaccio and I think it can be anything. Holy fuck, I don't want to fuck that up.
Yeah.
Because I want this darling to be right. And then that brings up a whole you put the constraints on yourself sometimes.
Yeah, it gets easier the more you do it, but it sure is its own challenge.
Yeah. But that book's going well, listeners. If you were unaware, Vampire Survivors: The Grimoire by Paul Davies and Stephanie Sterling. I think it's slated for spring next year. Yeah. I believe that's the date on the website.
That sounds about right for book lead times.
Yeah. And I'm obviously nervous about it, and it's because Luca still has to see a lot of what I've written. And when it comes to Vampire Survivors, Luca's the guy who needs to be pleased with it, because it's his fucking game, I am nervous about that, and obviously I'm nervous about people liking it when it comes out. But at the same time, I don't think I've ever been more confident in what I've done. I'm looking at what is on the page, and there is one story in particular, one piece of writing in there that is absolutely the best thing I've ever done. Just the best piece of writing I've ever fucking done. So yeah, all that is to say, very excited about it. I may genuinely ask you for, like non-performatively ask you for some writing advice, Laura, as I get closer to it, just to be like, how the fuck do I make myself do these last bits?
100%. I am around to jump on calls to help coach you through it if you need.
Wonderful. And I should say as well, just for the listeners, like Laura had, as I've been trying to do this sort of freelance writing stuff, because I don't have experience with that, and I also very much undervalue my work, so I never know what to ask for, what to accept from people, like treatment wise and stuff like that, and compensation and expectations, because I will let people just walk all over me. I've said before that, like, when I gave my first quote to Ponkle, for the bestiary, they said it would be unethical to pay me that little, and bumped the figure up. And Nikki's wife, Nikki J, who did Quantum Witch, when Nikki's wife heard what I asked for, apparently yelled, "That's really stupid," and argued me up as well. So that is to say, I just wanted to say for the listeners, as a note of sincerity, Laura has been just wonderful, as the experienced voice. To help me with all of this.
I'm glad I've been able to help with things like making sure you get paid a decent amount for the stuff you're doing.
Just all of it, how to carry myself and how to value myself. And
you do amazing work, and I've been doing my best to reassure you that you are very qualified for the things you're doing, and that it is okay to ask for the things that you are worth.
Yeah, and you were absolutely instrumental in helping me navigate aspects of this book, with regards to the professional side of things. So thank you so much.
I've been there once or twice. I'm glad I could help.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Everything wrapped up with that fucking publisher.
I mean, that publisher...
that ex-fucking publisher.
That publisher no longer exists. Who knows what money I'm ever going to see from that, but I'm working on it. I'm working on getting those books back out there. You can pick up Uncomfortable Labels or Things I Learned from Mario's Butt as an audiobook on laurakbuzzstore.com. Go check them out. There's an ebook for Mario's Butt and art prints and stuff there as well. Anyway, it's Podquisition. We're 20 minutes into this, and we got a tight hour to do today. So, who's been playing stuff they want to talk about this week?
I've played a good couple of things.
Have you played anything this week, Conrad?
I've played one thing this week. I'm on vacation. I ain't done shit. This is the only work I'm doing this week. So,
I
got 4 I could talk about.
Do we want to start with you, Conrad, just because we've spent 20 minutes waffling and you've not really gotten a word in yet? Do you want to chat about a thing you've played?
Sure. I'm in Phoenix this week visiting family and catching up with some people. And
they didn't tell me that.
Yeah. And a couple of my friends from high school took me to this board game shop in Phoenix here, and I guess there's 2 of them. It's called Forks and Boards, and it's one of these, restaurant and bar on one end.
I like that
and
name.
Then, yeah, right? Yeah, that's good. And then they have a huge play space and retail shop in the other section. It was converted from a grocery store, a big supermarket. It's huge. Their play section is enormous and very inclusive. There's signage about overstimulation and being able to request earplugs from them and things like that.
It's lovely.
They're really mindful. I guess the only negative Google review that Linda saw when we were checking it out was that they had all gender bathrooms, and that confused somebody.
Oh no!
It's amazing how confused by a toilet people will make themselves.
Toilet, anyone can piss. How do we even understand that?
Taking a shit is one of the most easily understood concepts in the world. Even babies know how to shit. And as you get older, it sort of becomes second nature to just sit on a toilet and shit inside the toilet.
You would think.
Yeah. I have visited the homes of many people in my life, as people are wont to do.
Yeah.
And I've never seen 2 sets of bathrooms with the sign ladies and gents like taped to them in someone's house. So I feel like people do understand the concept of an all-gender bathroom until it's in a board game restaurant.
Well, that was the thing that I found kind of, I was like, aren't all of your bathrooms all gender at home? Like
it's such a simple concept. Sit on the fucking toilet.
So anyway, while I was there, I played a game called Tinderblox. Tinderblox. This is my friend had it in her purse. It's a tiny little game that comes in a little tin, and you have a little deck of cards and some little wooden block pieces and a pair of tweezers. And you have a starter card that there's a couple of different arrangements of beginning blocks, but it's like a reverse Jenga. You draw a card, and it tells you which of the 3 different types of blocks and in what configuration you have to add to the Tinder pile, which is the space at the beginning of the game with a few blocks
So
on
you
it.
did just remind me, Conrad. I do, just to... because you reminded me about that regarding the other debate, I will admit that all Jenga bathrooms confuse me.
Excellent.
They get very messy.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. And so so the card will tell you, okay, you have to use one of the long brown blocks, but it might tell you have to lay it flat.
Yeah,
or you
to
have
do
to
that
lay
in
it
an
up on
all
its
Jenga
end.
bathroom as
in
well.
An all Jenga bathroom, yes. Yeah. And there's a little red blocks and little yellow blocks, and you might have to stack them or, just put 1 block or 2 blocks or all 3 in some configured stack. And then you have to use the tweezers and pick them up and put them on the pile. And as long as nothing falls off the pile, you're good. If something falls off the pile, you leave it the way it is, and you're out of the game. And the next person goes. It's real quick. It's tension-filled. Some cards require you to use your offhand. It is.
I could keep making this about bathrooms.
I know you could.
I'm trying to behave.
I'm respecting your efforts.
Indeed. But it's just a light, simple party game. And, we played a couple of rounds of it. It packed up quick, but it was fun. Yeah, I know.
I think part of it is because I made you laugh, Conrad, earlier.
Yeah,
and that's always a treat for me.
I know.
I'm like, I've got something here.
Yeah, I love a good mini box game like that can travel.
Yeah, and it's apparently a little bit tricky to get. They had difficulty getting their copy, and then when it arrived, the lid of the tin was dented, and they was like, well, fuck it, it's fine. I finally got it. And it's a lot of fun. I would definitely encourage people to check it out. I was quite pleased.
Neat.
Yeah,
I mean, like you, Laura, I always like the idea of like a tiny little board game or puzzle game or something that you just carry around.
Yeah, we've got a few in our collection at home that are, we could take this to a pub and it easily fits in a handbag sort of games. There's a company in particular that we like that makes a series of games called the Tiny Epic games that are quite big, involved, intricate games that fit down into a very small box, and they have them in a few genres. Like they've got one that's engine building, programming style mech combat. They've got one that's Dead Rising style. You're trying to rescue people from the zombie infested shopping center, and they all fit down to these tiny little boxes that are quite impressive.
I love that stuff. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. That's really all I've done this week.
Lovely. How chill.
It's been great.
What about you, Steph? What you been playing?
I know we've both played one because I saw it. I got a notification on the Switch.
Oh,
the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Actually, we've played 2 of the same game.
Oh, have we?
I just remembered a 5th one.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I should do one of those or one of the others.
I don't know. Where do you want to start?
I'll tell you what. I'll start with the big marquee one, I guess, because lead with the biggie, I suppose. And that would be yesterday. Through a blitzing fucking migraine, I finished up Metal Gear Solid Delta.
Oh, I
yes.
was very curious to see how this turned out.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. I've had, while I've been talking about it on Blue Sky, I've had some, shall we say, passive-aggressive replies aimed towards the game.
Yeah.
And I want to say, I completely get why people might be disappointed that it's literally just Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
But to counter that, here's the thing I love about it. It's literally just Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
And when I say it's literally just, I don't think we can call it a remake. We can't even call it a remaster. It's this new thing that I've just taken to calling a reproduction. I guess the closest bit of media, and I've seen one comparison to this already, and I was thinking it myself. The closest comparison would be the Vince Vaughn Psycho remake.
Okay.
Which was, aside from a bit of wanking, almost shot for shot. This is even more faithful than that, because Snake doesn't at any point whip it out and jerk off.
I forgot to put it on my list, but I have started playing this. And the thought that I kept having during early portions of it was, it feels less like a remake and more like when someone goes, oh, I remade Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine 5.
Yes.
And it's like,
yes,
it looks arguably better, not always. Sometimes I would argue some of the artistic choices being made maybe don't look as good, but it definitely is more modern production visuals on the thing that feels exactly how it felt before, because they're just remaking the thing but doing it in new graphics engine.
Yeah. And I've started writing my review of it, and I make this point in the review that I don't think this game could have been done any other way, because the game industry as it exists today would be indicted by what would be made. Because you can't make Snake Eater again. I don't think in the mainstream gaming space, Snake Eater or anything like it could truly be made again. The sheer everything that's in it. When I get back off of video hiatus, I'm going to do a video on how we've applied the word sandbox to the wrong games. Metal Gear Solid 3 is a fucking sandbox. The amount you could do. I played that game when it was brand new. I played it when it came out. And over the 2 decades, I couldn't tell you how many times I've played it again. It's a lot. Playing through this one, I was still finding codec calls that I've never experienced before. I learned a thing that I'd never learned before, of a thing that was somewhere, like an item or a trick that you can do. There's so much, and so much optional, self-indulgent guff that no company, much less Konami, would invest in ever again. So my argument is, it would be impossible to do Snake Eater justice. So the only way you can remake it is to one-for-one it, is to take all of the original voice acting, because you ain't gonna get all of those. There's a fucking full-ass conversation for every animal you hunt. And so much of it is fucking gold. It's one of my favourite things about the game, is talking to Paramedic and Sigint whenever I get animals and weapons and camo. There's so much of it, and there's so many great jokes and moments in those conversations. And again, because it's so utterly packed and dense with it, there's stuff I still haven't heard. And I find something new every time I play it. And they truly don't make them like that anymore. They won't make them like that anymore. So you're not going to get all of that voice acting back in it. You're not going to get all of those mechanics back in it unless you just put new flesh on the skeleton that exists. That's what they did. It was the right call. And I love this remake. I truly do. And honestly, after Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, all of the other ones that have come out, it's honestly refreshing to play a game that thought, we can't do better. We don't know better. Let's just do it again, but prettier and with optional modern controls, because the old ones are still fucking in it because it's the same fucking game. I will say the new controls make it more playable.
Yeah.
And the really interesting thing to me is this might be the least necessary remake ever. There's no need for it to be made. However, unlike Silent Hill 2, Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, this completely unnecessary remake might have become the default way I play Snake Eater now. The other games, if I want to play Dead Space, I will play the original Dead Space. I will only play the Dead Space remake if I want to play the Dead Space remake. If I want to play Snake Eater, going forward, I think Delta is it. Because I think the graphics are nicer, and I think the one area where the remake has been able to add something is they've put in a lot of subtle facial expressions, which has really helped characters like Eva and the boss, because there are real moments on their faces now of conflict and stuff like that. And the controls, the original Snake Eater's controls are so clunky and awkward because they're trying to do so much. But we have codification of third-person controls now, and I think the game benefits from that. In some areas, like where I might have historically struggled with areas of the original game, I get through them a lot more now and actually use a lot more of the little optional tips and tricks and weird, funny things you can do that are just a bit of a joke. The process is more streamlined and easier to remember. So what might go down in history as the least necessary remake of all time is probably gonna be the one game that replaces the original for me.
It's in a very small camp of ones where there is literally no reason I would go back to the old version of the game. Like, one of the few recent ones I can think of is the Switch re-release or remaster of Metroid Prime, where it's just the original game at a higher resolution with proper dual analog support. And I'm like, cool, there's no reason I'd go back now. It's nice sometimes to go, there is a remake or remaster or whatever that I have zero qualms about saying, yeah, this makes the original obsolete.
Yeah, and you absolutely can go back. They released a proper remaster of it a couple years ago. If that, I think it was even more recent. So yeah, even more so, you could look at Delta and be like, there is no need for this. And I would actually agree. But I would add that just because there's no need for something, that doesn't mean it's not worth having around. And that doesn't mean it's not good. And by virtue of being so unnecessary, it's become the most necessary in its own strange way.
Well, Metal Gear Solid 3 always looked good, but
yeah,
things have changed, and details and textures are better, and we have the capability to produce them at a higher level now. And I think that there probably are some people for whom going to a PlayStation 2 era visual or, even that remaster isn't going to be quite enough. Yeah. And getting a full visual overhaul like this, I think, will open up the game to a broader audience that might have missed it otherwise. And it's such a great intro to the entire Metal Gear universe.
Yeah.
That, Metal Gear Solid is maybe the best, game introduction. But if I were to pick a second one, it would be 3. And I think 3 is the best game in the franchise.
I know it's got that kind of thing that, the Star Wars prequel-y thing of, people wonder, is it better to start with the canonical timeline or the releases? And I think with Metal Gear Solid, it's all valid. Whether it's the best place to start, I'm not going to answer that. It is a great place to start. It makes complete sense that if they are going to do more of these, and honestly, I hope they do. I hope they do this to Metal Gear Solid 2 and 1. I understand why they started with this one, because it is a great jumping off point, and it is also, let's face it, a work of fucking art. It is a masterpiece of a game. I have never completed a fight with the end and not felt blown away. I have never, after all these years, I have never finished that fight with the end and not been fucking impressed. what a fucking boss fight. Just what a piece of interactive media. And I still get a little bit of a chill at the end with the whole, true patriot line and all of that. It's a fucking masterclass. It really is. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. I'll get a couple of things out of the way quickly, because I've been dipping my toes in a bunch of stuff this week. I finally finished playing through Abiotic Factor, which is a game I talked about a while ago on this show. I've been chipping away at it in little bursts of co-op with Jane. It is a game where you're working your first day working in some scientific facility, and you're being sort of taken down through all the levels to where you're going to be working, and it becomes apparent as you're going down, there's some SCP some weird monstery shit going on down here that they're experimenting on. And no sooner as you made it to, the floor you're going to be working on than all hell breaks loose and the whole building goes into lockdown and portals are opening up everywhere. And it's one of those base building, collect the resources to get better equipment, to go out on bigger journeys, to collect more equipment, to build better gear, to go out on longer journeys, one of those kind of games. I've been chipping away at this in 4 or 5 hour batches of co-op with Jane over many, many, many months. And what I will say about this game is, this is a game that I never would have completed playing solo for a lot of reasons. There are so many types of materials to be collecting, and so many potential directions to be going, and a map that is so built around opening up shortcuts that suddenly this place connects to this place, and I had trouble keeping it all in my head. It is a beautifully intricate map. It is a fascinating work of development that I struggle to keep entirely straight in my head. But playing it with someone who knows what they're doing well enough that, they can sort of streamline a bit of the process of, okay, I know where we need to head next and what we need to be getting next and roughly where it is, to prevent too much of that aimless wandering around going, I don't know where the thing I need to build the thing is. That helped a lot, but also what really helped is that this game has a really good suite of options for tailoring the experience, and for massively tweaking the experience into something you're going to enjoy more. So by the point we were coming to the end of this big playthrough, we'd changed things so that, for example, no longer would you drop all your stuff upon death. So if you died in combat, you weren't stressing about dropped materials and dropped equipment. Changing it so that there was one less stage of having to research new ideas before you can build them. They would just be straight away ready to be built at the crafting table. Just a few things that... There's a lot of options for this aspect of this game is stopping me from having more fun. And they're very open to you just turning shit like that off and really, quite drastically changing the experience. If you do that in co-op, the only thing that comes even close to them being maybe this, be aware of how much you've changed the experience, is if you join a co-op game, it will go, just a heads up, the person hosting the game has set quite a lot of custom rules. Just be aware this is a non-standard experience. But they really do let you go in and go, while playing through it, I was looking at that menu and going, this really feels like if Breath of the Wild had let you go in and go, I'm not enjoying weapon durability, I want to swap that and turn that off. It was that degree of modular, is this mechanic just not fun for you? Really get in there and fuck around with it. I love the world building in this game. I think there is some really creative monster design. I think that the world building of some of the weird experimental things they had locked up is really cool. My biggest problem with its finale is that, they have a big set-piece battle at the end. That is a ridiculous bullet sponge. It kind of sours the note of the ending a little bit, in that the final fight, I think, could have been a quarter of the length and still felt a little long. Which is a weird note to end on. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. The other one I'll get out the way quickly is I played some of the open beta that was happening for Sonic Racing CrossWorlds.
Ah, yes, I have a question for you for that one, actually.
Yeah, ask away.
Yeah, because I asked Fee, and Fee tended to agree,
Mm-hmm.
and Fee's eldest looked at me playing it and asked a great question himself, which was, how do you know what's going on?
Yeah.
Have you noticed, as I do, that the game looks ugly as fucking sin?
Oh, it does. It really does.
Yeah, I say this not as someone who, like, I'm not a big graphics person necessarily. You know, I love a game if it looks good. I don't need a game to look good. But Sonic games in general, if nothing else, look good. I was a big fan of Hedgehog Engine games back in the 7th gen.
Did you play this on Switch too?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so did I. It looks, way worse than anything else I've played on that platform.
Yeah.
It looks
Fucking
worse than
dreadful.
Switch 1 software looks on that platform.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's so... It really hit home to me how nice Mario Kart World looks. Was looking at this, because I was like, it's not doing anything, like, more ambitious. And it just looks smeary as shit.
And I'm just used to better from Sonic games. Again, as I say, not a big graphics person, but I love the visuals of a Sonic game because they're always like really colourful. And I thought the last Sonic game I played, I'm sure looked like a real treat visually.
Yeah.
So I've been really disappointed to turn this on and think to myself, now I know this is just a network test.
Well, the game's like 3 weeks from launch. It's gonna look like this.
What I mean is, it says network test, and because of the visuals, my brain kept trying to tell me that meant it was being streamed.
No, it looks like it though, right?
And I'm like, no, I definitely downloaded this, but it looks artifacty.
It looks like playing a thing over like fucking xCloud or something. It looks like a streamed in game.
Yeah, it's because the resolution settings are clearly fucked.
Yeah.
And even if they fix those, if you look at like the textures on the road, they are so artifacty and jaggy. And like the crowd's animations, Fee pointed this out, and once I saw it, I completely agree. And I normally think this is hyperbole, but absolutely not. A lot of the backgrounds of this game are PS1 era.
So here's the thing about it. I booted this up on PlayStation as well out of curiosity. While it does look like better and like more acceptable on PlayStation, it's not keeping a stable frame rate. It's inconsistent even on like the big consoles. It feels like this game has some weird... We rushed it and didn't give it time for optimization problems. I don't know quite what's going on with it. That aside, generally speaking, I can sum up my thoughts about that game as... It's unapologetically very directly just Mario Kart. The one unique thing I can say is that when you're a boat on the water, you can do the drift action while in a straight line to get a boost without having to turn.
Yeah, you get a little jump.
Yeah, and you can do little tricks in the air. Accessibility-wise, I will say I'm glad that they've copied a lot of what recent Mario Kart's been doing in terms of offering things like steering assist, auto-accelerate, stuff like that. I do wish that steering assist wasn't on by fucking default. Mario Kart does it too. I could feel it, like, the first time I booted that CrossWorlds beta up, I could feel it, like, pulling me back onto the track. I was like, oh, it didn't feel good, and I had to realise that was the case and go turn it off to have a better time.
Yeah.
The portal gimmick is interesting. It's certainly not as, like, amazing a spectacle as when you were doing it in, like, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Like, there's a very definite, for anyone who's not played it, whoever finishes the first lap first picks a portal and you go to that location for your next lap. But it's very much the location has been selected, wait a few seconds, then the portal opens. It is a fine multi-platform kart racer that looks like shit.
It feels like a mess as well to me. Like, Mario Kart World was very chaotic in a way that felt fun.
Yes.
Whereas this, I think even if the graphics were cleaned up, I'd still be unable to answer that question of how do you know what's going on.
It's got so much happening at one time visually. Like, you do a big jump into the air and it's like, oh, there's speed lines around the edge of the screen, but also we applied motion blur, and also the back of your car is sparking. Like, it's a bit too much happening at once.
Yeah.
To be terribly followable.
I like that you can customize your vehicle, though. Like, that's one thing I would have liked to have seen in a game that costs $80, say.
I kind of like the rival system of having, like, one particular racer who's like, fuck you, I'm gonna try and beat you. And, like, that's kind of a neat idea. But it's made me go, this ain't Mario Kart. Nintendo still kind of does it best on this genre.
I've liked the Sonic racing games in the past. I actually got really hooked for a while on playing the iOS version on an iPad back in like 2018, 2019. The iPad version looks so much better than this one. It's so much cleaner and easier to see what's going on, and it's not so jaggy and artifacty, and my god, like, you'd look at it and you just think, what the fuck happened? What has happened here?
Well, what about you, Steph? What else have you been playing this week?
I have also been playing... I'll do these two quickly, just because, I was the one that needed the fucking tight hour, and I ran my mouth. Shinobi Art of Vengeance, I played. A proper, it does what Sega's got these great franchises from the Genesis era that they're not interested in anymore. So that got us the excellent Streets of Rage 4, because just letting smaller studios have at it is a great idea. And that has borne out with Art of Vengeance as well. It is a, contemporary 2D platforming Shinobi game. And as someone who has very fond memories of playing Revenge of Shinobi back in the day, it's been great fun. It is really tight control-wise, very fast and fluid, looks fucking gorgeous, and the character art is great because it looks so like 80s anime artwork. I really like that. Solid platforming, wonderful little combat system. Got some nice little sort of modifiers for anyone that might find it too difficult. So you can change, the damage you deal and take, and also the frequency with which enemies attack, which I think is going to help out people. Really liking it. It's really good. And about an hour before we recorded, just to unwind, I did it on a lark just because I did Walking Dead and just felt like having some more zombies, but didn't want to play a game I necessarily played a lot of. So I played a game I fucking hated and didn't know that just a few weeks ago they took out the one thing that made me despise it. And it's so much better now, just for the one thing gone. And that's Dying Light 2. I just downloaded it today for a lark to do something in my non-writing off time, and then looked it up before we started recording and was like, because it felt different. And I knew that, I put it on the shittiest games of the year that year, based almost solely on the stamina system, because they took a game series known for its parkour and then governed it with one of the strictest, most fun-killing stamina systems I've ever seen. All they've done to make me regard it a lot more is stamina no longer applies to most parkour moves. It's mostly around for combat, which for a game like this still ain't great, but the fact you can actually enjoy the parkour now without putting dozens of upgrades into stamina, it's made a world of difference. And I think I might actually enjoy it this time.
Yay!
So yeah, Dying Light 2. I've heard over time it got all sorts of fixes. That was the one. And it's just serendipitous that they did it a few weeks ago. Because otherwise, if I'd have played it sooner, I'd have just been like, it's still shit. So yeah, good stuff at the moment. Promising stuff, let's say.
With the time we've got left, of the things I've played, what's the other thing that we've both played, Steph? What have you played that's also on my list?
That would be the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Kirby and the $80 Land.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Star-Crossed Worlds, Kirby.
Which we're supposed to think that the level pack they put in is worth the extra $20. One person on Blue Sky virulently disagrees with me on that, but having played through all of Star CrossWorlds, it feels like an excuse for Nintendo's continued normalization of the $80 price point. When I reviewed the game, I judged it accordingly, because, as I've said, if these games are going to come at a premium, so's my fucking criticism. You want exceptional prices, I demand an exceptional game. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land is good. Not my favourite Kirby game, but it's pretty fucking good. It ain't exceptional. And that's my thoughts on it.
My thoughts on it boil down to, I really enjoyed that game when it first came out, and my biggest complaint was I kind of wanted more of it. Not to say that it didn't feel like there was enough of it when it released, but just, I enjoyed it a lot and it was like, I could go for more of that. And my experience with that upgrade pack has been, I feel like I bought a DLC, and I had an excuse to come back in and play more Star CrossWorlds. And I'm perfectly happy with that. It's very much been here is an excuse for me to come back and play more of that thing that I enjoyed and thought I'd squeezed all the fun out of, and now there's more of it to do. I don't feel bad about it as a purchase.
Mm-hmm.
It's been nice to just have a bit more of a thing I already liked.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Because of, the factors around the Switch 2 and Nintendo and everything, I will be unapologetically harsher to those games that are part of Nintendo's move because of the reasons I've given. My standards will increase. The levels are fine.
Yeah.
As you say, it's more of that game.
Yeah. They sure did realize that they now have the graphics text to have reflective crystals, and then put a lot of reflective crystals in because they know that they have the tech for that now.
Yeah, there's reflections.
There sure are reflections.
Yeah, the game looked great to begin with, so it's not a massively appreciable difference.
Like, it definitely looks nicer, but it is also far from the Nintendo game that most needed a next-gen graphics boost.
Yeah.
Like, I look at stuff that's Nintendo published, for example, I'm like, if I were Nintendo, I'd be going to Platinum Games and saying, work on a, 4K Bayonetta 3 patch or something. Like, I'd be pushing that before I'd be going, Kirby needs a graphics upgrade.
Yeah. And, just my overall summary is a last-gen game with a level pack does not an $80 product make. I mean, clearly it does in Nintendo's eyes, but we will philosophically disagree with that, myself and the fine folks at Nintendo. But, what is there is good. It is more of that game, and that game was good.
I'll say this, if I were buying it today, having not played the base game, I would probably be more critical of this bundle, because I recognise at least some of my positive feelings about this are because I played the base game, had a big long break of, I could go for more of that game, and got more of it separately, in a way that, very clearly was I spent this money and I got this thing and I feel the new thing. I feel like if it was all built into the game and there wasn't a gap between, I'd probably feel differently about the value it's adding. And I can recognize that.
Yeah. I think that's definitely what Nintendo how they've approached it as well. So yeah, it is what it is.
I think this is more acceptable than some of what PlayStation's been doing this past generation, where a couple of times it's been pay just to get the graphics update and there is nothing else to it. Here's a tenner, it looks nicer, is definitely the ones that are harder to justify. At least here I'm like, here at least I wanted new content, I got new content, I had fun with new content. But yeah, is that a good place for us to wrap up?
Yeah, I think so.
I reckon, yeah.
Yeah.
If we're doing all of that, wrapped up in a neat little package. And Laura, many would say you're the total package. And maybe you could tell us about what's some of the contents, what's in the box.
What's in the box? You should go check out LauraKBuzzStore.com and get a bundle that has Things I Learned from Mario's Bar as an audiobook, an ebook, and a bunch of high-quality art prints. You can get more than one fun little bundle. Go check that out. Other than that, I posted a really in-depth, lengthy written review on LauraKBuzz.com of Bridge Command's first 5-mission campaign. I recently did a 5-mission campaign of Bridge Command, that thing that's kind of like Star Trek LARPing, across a weekend, 10 hours of missions over 50 hours, and wrote some lengthy thoughts about how I think the campaign structure for that works, and my thoughts on it, so go check that out. Other than that, by the time you hear this, Hollow Knight Silksong will probably be out, but if you want to know about accessibility, what's in that game, they sure didn't talk about accessibility before that game came out, but I went and tracked down what accessibility was in that game by looking through every off-screen recording of a Silksong demo from Gamescom until I spotted all the settings. So if you want to know about Hollow Knight Silksong's accessibility stuff, go check out youtube.com/LauraKBuzz. You'll see my very detailed accessibility breakdown on that game, because the developers wouldn't bloody talk about it. What about you, Conrad? Where are you at on the internet?
Oh, well, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I'm on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. You can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com, and everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
Oh, you don't know how right you are. Patreon.com/Jimquisition, which supports this podcast and the Jimquisition web show, which will be back in the near future, I think. I just got to see what the lay of the land's like after Vampire Survivors the Grimoire, after my draft of that is done. That, as I said earlier, will be, I think, pegged for first half of next year, certainly. A law book for Vampire Survivors, which... you can also read words of mine in the game itself in the bestiary, and as well as Date Everything and Quantum Witch, 2 other games I've written for. Other than that, my next confirmed wrestling booking date is October 26th, I believe, for Pinfall Wrestling in Manchester. So, yep, there we are. Thank you all so much. As usual, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.